What does compassion mean? He felt in his own heart the pain of his lost son. And then, amazingly, he ran. See that? It's a Greek word that means sprint. Middle Eastern noblemen don't sprint. Old men don't sprint. Middle Eastern noblemen don't run, they glide. Like a sort of Arabic moonwalk, you know. This is not dignified. I read some fascinating material on this written by Kenneth Bailey, who lived for many years in the Middle East and studied all the ways. If you look at the Middle Eastern garb today, you see it on the news all the time, the Arabic culture, all the robes go clear to the ground, and it is a shame upon any man, certainly any woman, but also any man, to show any part of his legs. First of all, you don't run. It's not dignified to run. Secondly, you don't sprint, which is the same word of someone who ran a race. Here comes the father at the high point of his house, looking down the dusty road. He sees his stinking, sinful son coming. Down out of there he comes, and at full speed runs through the middle of town. In order to do that, he has to pull up his robe. Oh. Do you know there's an Arabic word for robe, makhbout? You know what it means? That which brings me honor. If you know anything about the Middle Eastern culture, you know that covering is where the honor lies. And it's dishonorable to uncover anything. You see these women, you know, with only their eyes. But the father pulls up his robe. Yikes. And he's running at full speed. This is even embarrassing. You don't want to be running through town with your robe up. And then, in so doing, can you follow this? The father shifts the shame from the son to whom? To himself. See the picture here? The father is the seeker. And the father comes down. And he comes all the way down to the dusty street of our town. And he runs at full speed and takes the scorn and the shame on himself that is due the sinner. And when he gets to the sinner, he gets to the sinner before the sinner gets to the village. Before the condemnation can begin, he gets to him, and look what he did, and embraced him. Oh. That's a sign. It's a sign of full reconciliation. Wait a minute, where's the restitution? Forget it. There is no restitution. Full reconciliation. Why? Because he came with a penitent heart, understanding that he was coming to a good, compassionate, forgiving Father. He embraced him. That pig, stinking sinner. And then it says he kissed him. And the Greek says he kissed him, and 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 all over the head. Just kept kissing him and kissing him. Yeah. Have you ever had a picture of God like that? That's bizarre, isn't it? Wait a minute, God is high and exalted. He is. But he condescended to come all the way down into our dusty world and bring shame on himself to run through our town, to take the shame upon himself that was due to us, and he embraces the penitent sinner and kisses him all over his head. You ever see that picture of God before? And if he's saying to the Pharisees, if that's not your God, then you don't know God. You just think you do. The Son of Man has come to seek and to save that which was lost. Well, wait a minute. What should have been done? He should have been scorned. He should have been slapped. He should have been beaten. He should have been given an audience with his father at a distance, and then he should have been set on a course to work off all his debt. No. There's one word for this action. You ready for it? Grace. And guess what? Legalists have no category for grace. It makes them mad. Makes them angry. Oh, by the way, when he gave the speech, remember he rehearsed the speech? Back in verses 18 and 19, I'll go to my father, I'll say to him, I sinned against heaven and your sight, I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me as one of your hired men. That was the religious system. I'll earn my reconciliation. But when he gets back, after he's been embraced and kissed all over his head, the son does give his speech. He says, Father, I have sinned against heaven, and in your sight, I'm no longer worthy to be called your son, period. What does he leave out? What did he leave out? Make me one of your hired men. Why? Moot point. Doesn't have to work it off. He understood he had just received grace. Lavish, over the top grace. Now this is commensurate with God rejoicing over one sinner who repents, and God's joy being like the joy of a bridegroom on his wedding day, and God's joy being so great that he just yells across infinite heaven. The boy is given reconciliation immediately, restoration and forgiveness, and has nothing to earn. He came with a rabbinic idea, a Jewish idea, a legalistic idea, a typical religious idea that you earn your way to God. And he was so smothered by sovereign grace and accepted it so fully that he understood he had been given full sonship just because he came, trusting and penitent. Who is the Father? Oh, easy, right? God in Christ, coming down from heaven, just like it is God in Christ who is the shepherd who finds the lost sheep. It is God in Christ who is the woman who finds the lost coin. And by the way, it is God who initiates. He is the seeker who finds the sinner before the sinner can find him. Do you remember Romans 3? No man seeks after God. God is the seeker. God's love for the penitent is lavish, pure grace, apart from any